Hello, everyone. This is your friend, Faith Enriquez, coming to you from Grove City, Pennsylvania today to talk about concussions. I hope you were able to catch my video yesterday where we talked about the fact that concussion is treatable and that a full recovery is possible when you get targeted active treatments for your particular type of concussion. We talked about my daughter Maria and how surprised I was when Dr. Collins at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Concussion Clinic said to her, "Do you want your life back?" When she said yes, he said, "Maria, what I'm going to tell you is going to be some of the hardest things you've ever had to do in your life. But if you do what I say, you will get better." So let me just go over again what we talked about yesterday about the different types of concussions. Most people, I always thought there was just a concussion. I didn't know there were different types. So this is something that Dr. Collins down at UPMC taught us. 6 different types of concussions. There we go. So there's vestibular, that has to do with interpreting motion in your brain. Ocular, your eyes working together as a team. Anxiety and mood and emotions. Migraine, of course, nausea, light sensitivity, pounding, headaches, noise sensitivity. Cognitive fatigue, where cognitive tasks, especially sustained, tire you out. And finally, issues with the neck or spine that could be contributing to your concussion symptoms. All of those things, you need to find a good doctor who will look for all of those different issues, not just some kind of blanket approach. You have a concussion, go do this. No, we need to look and target the exact issues that you have. You might have one of those types of concussions. You might have 2 or 3. You might even have all 6. But you need to find a doctor who can help you figure out what exactly is going on, what parts, what functions of your brain are not working properly, so that they can get rehabbed with targeted active treatments. So Dr. Collins told my daughter, if you do what I say, you will get better. So what did he tell you to do? Tell her to do? The things he told her to do surprised me so much that I actually questioned him. I had no idea who this doctor was. And when I went home, I looked him up, and he is world renowned. He works with all sorts of gigantic organizations like the military, the NFL, the CDC, the International Consensus Statements on Concussion. He speaks all over the world. He runs the largest concussion clinic in the world in Pittsburgh. They log over 20,000 patient visits a year and have pages of testimonials of people who have gotten better by visiting Dr. Collins. So that's who he is. I'm not saying any of this on my own authority. I am not a doctor. I cannot treat your concussion or diagnose it or give you official medical advice. I'm simply here to point you to what good care looks like, and hopefully that you can find good care like my family did. So, what did Dr. Collins tell my daughter to do that surprised me so much? Well, the first things he told her surprised me because they were so ordinary. It seemed like something that your mother tells you to do, not that you pay a concussion specialist to teach you. But that's what it was. They were healthy lifestyle changes. He had 5 particular things that these are things you can do, any of you can do, to feel better, whether you have a concussion or not. These are things that any human being needs to have in place to feel good. And the first one is to get regular sleep. I know I've heard Dr. Collins say many times that he doesn't want people taking naps. He wants you to go to bed. He told my daughter, go to bed at the same time every night. Get up at the same time every morning, even on the weekends, at least in this recovery phase. Make it very, very regular. Do not take naps because that will disrupt your circadian rhythms and your sleep cycles. just get regular sleep. Make your body lie down at a certain time and wake up at a certain time. And no naps. He emphasized that to my son later when he saw him for another concussion as well. So that was his first advice. Get regular sleep. His second kind of healthy lifestyle thing he told her to do was to eat good food and to eat it on a regular schedule. Again, this is so basic, good health. Don't eat junk food, eat good food. Make sure you eat breakfast, make sure you eat lunch, make sure you eat dinner. Keep on a regular cycle of good food. The third thing he told her was to drink lots of water. Again, this is something all of you should be doing. It's something I've always tried to do to feel good. You've got to be drinking lots of water. He gave her really specific instructions too about how many ounces at which times of the day. Very specific, drinking lots and lots of water. Surprising, so simple. Number 4, exercise. Now that's surprising because it is simple and something everyone's told to do to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but concussion patients are usually told not to exercise. They're told to rest. But Dr. Collins puts that in his written instructions, exercise. Now, of course, right at the beginning, you're going to have to take it easy with that exercise. That exercise might look like a 5-minute walk around the block or a few minutes on a stationary bicycle. But it's important that your body gets moving. It's important for blood flow to your brain so that your brain can begin to actually heal. And for the neuroplasticity and all sorts of things, more and more studies are showing that exercise is important. Now, the exercise, we'll talk about that in more detail in a few minutes. Just that was a general instruction as part of a healthy lifestyle. Make sure you're getting some sort of exercise every day, is what he told her. And the final part of healthy lifestyle is to manage stress. Again, every day, everybody should be doing this. Managing stress, whether that looks like exercise, all the diet and water and everything helps with that too, mindfulness, doing relaxing activities, whatever it takes for you to manage stress. Make sure you're doing that if you have a concussion. So these, again, quick run through of what was surprising to me. So simple, so everyday, ordinary, but many concussion patients actually miss these things because they're sent to a dark room to rest. I know my daughter was not getting regular sleep. She would kind of nap all day and not be able to sleep at night. She was definitely not eating on a regular schedule. She said she was drinking lots of water, but when we actually measured it out in ounces, no, she wasn't. Definitely not getting exercise, just sitting in the room, resting. And when you sit in a dark room and rest, that actually raises your stress levels. You're falling behind in school, you're not keeping up with your friends, you're just sitting there wondering, am I ever going to get better? It's actually a very stressful situation to just sit with nothing to do in a dark room endlessly. So these were Dr. Collins' first surprising instructions, healthy lifestyle. The second instructions that Dr. Collins gave that surprised me were a specific prescription to exercise. He sent Maria to what's called Exertion Therapy, and she had to go to this therapy once a week and meet with the physical therapists. And exertion therapy is exercise. They had her riding a stationary bike, catching balls, doing rotations, doing all sorts of physical exercise, things that got her heart rate up and got her blood flowing and moving. Even she had her exertion therapy. Sorry, just a second. So, yeah, her exertion therapy. You have to be careful with this. You can't just jump into this full out, full force. It's important that you are working with a physical therapist or a doctor to step up step by step. Because if your exercise is too rigorous, of course, it'll bring on your symptoms way too hard at an outrageous rate that you'll have a hard time recovering from. So there at the UPMC clinic, what they recommend and what they do with their patients in therapy is they work them out to, they say, a level of 5 out of 10 for your symptoms. So let's say that running on the treadmill gives you a headache. They'll say, okay, is it 3 out of 10 pain-wise? Then keep going. 4, keep going. 5 out of 10, that's the place where they're going to back you off, take you off for a few minutes or slow it down, and then put you back on. So you do it step by step. You just push right to the edge of your symptoms. They say right around to 5 out of 10 with your symptoms. Then you take a break, and then you go back. So exercise. And I always think it's funny, too, that on her very last set of written instructions, he told her to work out on the trampoline. So did he do that the first time? No way. The first time he told her to exercise by taking a light walk or by riding a stationary bike. But by the end of his treatment, he was trying to get her back to her total normal activities, which for her at that time, she just loved to work out on the trampoline. So he actually told her to get ready for your exit test, to get ready to get out of here, go home every day and practice bouncing on the trampoline. Exercise. Work your way up with exercise back to your normal level eventually. The third thing that surprised me, that really floored me, was his final instructions said this. He said, Maria, since crowded places are bothering you, I want you to visit one crowded place, like a grocery store or a restaurant, every single day. Since bright lights are bothering you, I want you to be careful to leave the lights on. Don't dim your screens, don't dim your lights, leave your lights on. Since exercise is making you dizzy and giving you a headache, I want you to make sure you engage in some sort of exercise, such as walking or a light workout, every single day. Since being around people makes your symptoms worse, stay around people. He told her, do not go in your room except to sleep at night. Every other minute of the day, you should be out and around people. Stay in the living room. Stay in school. Stay around people. And finally, he told her, don't talk about your symptoms until you come back here and talk honestly to me, but don't talk about your symptoms with anybody else. This was just crazy to me. I thought, what kind of a treatment plan is this? Like, put on the bright lights and go into the places that are making you feel so bad? And did he leave my bewilderment unanswered? No, Dr. Collins loves to explain and teach what he's doing and why and make sure you understand it. So he explained that day what he calls exposure recovery. And he explained that when the brain was injured, when it was shaken in that concussion, there was a metabolic energy crisis that lasted for a few days that made parts of the systems in your brain decompensate, like we talked about with the vestibular and the ocular and anxiety and so forth, that made a lot of tasks difficult because of this temporary energy crisis that happened. But if we retreat from those difficult things forever, if we just say, no, I can't go back in those crowded places, I can't take the bright lights. If we keep retreating from them forever, the brain will never learn to do it. It will never get better. We have to readapt the brain to accept those difficult stimuli. You have to just keep doing what's uncomfortable until the brain just gets used to it and accepts it and says, okay, I didn't think I could handle that bright light, but you know what? I'm still here and I'm still alive. I guess I can handle it. And slowly, it works its way back to where it just accepts it without thinking about it. Now, again, this is hard. Like Dr. Collins said to Maria, this is going to be some of the hardest things you've ever had to do in your life. And again, this should be done under the care of a licensed medical provider who's skilled in the area of concussion so that you don't overdo it. Everybody's concussion is different. You need to be taking these steps under guided care. But I think anyone could at least take the step of saying, you know what, this is bothering me. I'm going to try to do it just a little bit today. If my symptoms get too bad, worse than 5 out of 5, then I'm going to back out and step away. But then I'm going to go back and try that thing again. Maybe it's going to the grocery store, and the first step is just to go in for 2 minutes. Your symptoms start to flare up, they get up to about 5 out of 10, then get out, walk away. Don't let your symptoms elevate too high. But keep going back. Go back again the next day until you can do the 2 minutes without symptoms. Then once you've hit the 2, then move it up to 5 or 10 or whatever. But the exposure recovery was what he taught Maria how to do. Well, following all these instructions was Maria's all day, every day battle for the next few weeks. If she woke up with a headache, she had to go to school anyway. When she came home from school tired and wanting to take a nap, nope, she would go out and take a walk instead. Was she feeling anxious around people? Well, every day we would try to go to a restaurant or the gas station or Walmart or someplace just to get around people for a few minutes. And like he said, Dr. Collins said, she didn't go to her room. She brought all of her homework, whatever activity she was doing, down to the living room and stayed around people. If you were here yesterday, you know we have 10 kids in our family, so our living room is a pretty busy in and out place, hustle and bustle. But she exposed herself to that and made herself stay there with people. Purposefully pitting herself into all of these uncomfortable situations was no fun. But do you know what? It worked. Maria could feel the change. We all could see the change. The concussion was loosening its grip on her, and she was taking back her life. Well, for her, it took 8 weeks of treatment from Dr. Collins and his team. But after 8 weeks, Maria was finally able to say goodbye to her concussion. This was a complete and definitive goodbye. All of her symptoms were gone. UPMC Clinic and Dr. Collins do not release you from their care until you are able to pass a number of tests, both cognitive and physical, where they actually work you out. They put you through all sorts of motions and workouts for an entire hour of things that would bring on symptoms if you still had a concussion. She went through all of that and was able to get cleared, say goodbye to Dr. Collins and the Concussion Clinic, and go back to her ordinary high school life. In fact, just 1 month later, after her exit test from the Concussion Clinic, she was on the stage playing a lead role in her school play, The Importance of Being Earnest. She had memorized hundreds of lines. She was able to focus. She could walk around the dark stage without being dizzy or afraid of, falling. The noise and the clapping and all the commotion at the end was a joy to her instead of a disturbance. The bright lights, stage lights, didn't bother her. She was 100% better from her concussion after getting targeted, active treatments from Dr. Collins and his team. Well, you might be saying, oh, that worked for her. She's young, she's from a small town, she got that kind of care, whatever you might be saying. This wouldn't work for me in my circumstance. Well, I'm here to tell you that I think it would work for you, and that Dr. Collins and his team help thousands of patients every single year. In fact, UPMC logs over 20,000 patient visits a year. And the walls of his clinic are covered with jerseys of professional athletes who have said goodbye to their concussions and left him put up jerseys with messages. thanking him for getting them back to playing their elite and professional sports. If you go to the UPMC website, which you can find a direct link to this on my website, which is www.goodbyeconcussion.com. On my resources page, you can find a direct link to pages and pages of testimonials of people who have been to the UPMC clinic and have said goodbye to their concussions. All sorts of people, not just elite and professional athletes. They have 4 separate pages of testimonials. There's professional athletes, college athletes, young athletes, and everyday ordinary people who have gotten a concussion from falling or a car accident or some other, just everyday life kind of blow to the head that caused a concussion, or a shaking like a car accident or something like that. And if you cannot get to UPMC, my hope is that you would take the information that I'm teaching you, take the information and find care like that in your area. Ask for it, educate yourself, advocate for yourself. Find somebody who's going to look at all these different types of concussions, who's not just going to give you a one size fits all approach, but is going to look for all those different areas of concussion. Find somebody who's going to give you targeted, active treatments. If your doctor's telling you to go and rest in a dark room, I think you want to find another doctor who's actually going to be able to help you. So that is the hope and the transformation that you can have, that you can also say goodbye to your concussion if you can get a good doctor, a good clinic who will diagnose exactly what functions in your brain are not working properly and give you targeted, active treatments. In the meantime, you can always do the healthy lifestyle changes and try a little bit of exposure yourself. Again, don't go past 5 out of 10 with your symptoms, but you can slowly try to work your way back into some of the more difficult situations that are causing you troubles and symptoms. And definitely find a good concussion doctor or specialist who can help you. And I just want to say I'll be going live again on Monday afternoon at 2. You can catch the replays, but we'll be going live once again to talk some more about concussions. And specifically on Monday, I'm going to talk about how to find good care. Obviously, you can go to UPMC in Pittsburgh, but if you can't travel all the way to Pittsburgh, I'm going to try to help you figure out how can I find good care in my neighborhood. This is your friend Faith saying goodbye.